My boss stole my promotion, then we crashed on a deserted island, and suddenly, his life depended on me. I'm Linda Little, and this is the story of how being invisible at work pushed me to my breaking point and beyond. I arrived at Preston Corporation excited about the report I'd spent weeks perfecting. I handed it to Donovan, my coworker, who told me I wasn't needed in the board meeting. He promised he'd present it and make sure everyone knew the work was mine. But from outside the conference room, I watched him quietly remove my name and take full credit. That moment hit hard. I was good at my job, but I was invisible. I struggled to connect with anyone at the office. My attempts to be friendly always came out awkward, so people kept their distance. They excluded me from lunches, after-work drinks, everything. Outside of work, it was even worse. I had no close friends, no family. My only real companion was my pet parrot at home. Still, I stayed relentlessly positive. I believed that if I just worked harder, recognition would finally come. I had been promised the vice president position by the company's late founder. Now that his son Bradley was taking over, I was sure the promotion was mine. When Bradley arrived to meet the staff, I stepped forward eagerly to introduce myself. Unfortunately, I had just taken a big bite of a tuna sandwich. Some of it was still on my face, and as I spoke, a piece accidentally fell onto his suit. He looked disgusted and quickly excused himself. Later, I learned Bradley had already given the VP job to Donovan, his old fraternity buddy. My awkward first impression hadn't helped. When I confronted him in his office, he told me I was excellent at the actual work, but I wasn't leadership material. I wasn't good with people, and what he needed was someone who could close deals and golf. In the middle of that humiliating conversation, he casually pointed out I had something stuck in my teeth. Then, he mentioned complaints about the strong fish smell from my lunch and suggested I eat somewhere else. I left barely holding back tears. Still, I joined the team on the flight to Bangkok for an important deal. I had solved the complicated Appendix D issue they were struggling with. But when I tried to tell Bradley, he dismissed me. Donovan even mocked me for working too much. During the flight, they played an old audition tape I made for Survivor, laughing at how seriously I took survival skills. I heard every word. Humiliated, I deleted my report. Then the plane hit severe turbulence. Suddenly, the cabin depressurized. A hole ripped open in the side. Donovan panicked and tried to force me out of my seat to save himself. Without thinking, I stabbed his hand with a fork. He lost his grip and was sucked out of the plane. The aircraft crashed into the ocean. I managed to escape and grab onto a raft. The next morning, I woke up on a beach in the Gulf of Thailand. I found Bradley unconscious with a badly injured leg and dragged him to safety. I built a shelter, made cups from coconut shells for rainwater, and created a knife from sharp rock. When a storm hit that night, I protected us both. The next day, Bradley woke up. He was upset Donovan was gone, but he thanked me for saving him. I quickly got into my element, making fire, catching fish, cooking. Bradley refused to eat at first, so I had to feed him myself. He kept pushing me to focus only on signaling for rescue, but I knew we needed shelter, water, and food first. When he tried to stand and snapped at me, reminding me he was still my boss, I'd had enough. I left him there and built my own shelter. He stayed alone for 2 days, unable to move, burning in the sun, dying of thirst. When he was close to collapse, I returned and gave him water. I told him we weren't in the office anymore. He had no choice but to accept the new reality. I started thriving. I hunted a wild boar, killed it after a terrifying chase, and brought its severed head back to camp, covered in blood. Bradley was shocked. That night we finally ate well. I discovered a waterfall and began washing there. One day I saw a rescue boat nearby, but after thinking about it, I chose not to signal. I quietly returned to camp without telling Bradley. As weeks passed, Bradley grew frustrated and tried to leave and build his own camp. He failed miserably. Hungry and desperate, he eventually came back begging for forgiveness. I let him return, but now I was clearly in control. We started getting closer. One night, after drinking fermented fruit, I opened up about my abusive ex-husband and how I let him drive drunk, leading to his death. I told Bradley I didn't think we should leave the island. The next day, I saw him bathing and felt something stir in me for the first time. Then everything changed. Bradley secretly fed me poisonous berries. I became violently ill. While I was helpless, he tried to escape on a raft he'd built, but it broke apart and he washed back ashore unconscious. Even sick, I dragged myself to him and performed CPR, vomiting on him repeatedly from the poison. Once I recovered, I caught a blue-ringed octopus and fed him its toxic flesh. I explained exactly what was happening. The paralysis would leave him fully conscious, but unable to move. While he was paralyzed, I staged a terrifying punishment, making him believe I was about to castrate him with a knife. At the last second, I revealed I was only cutting a dead rat. I warned him never to mistake my kindness for weakness again. A few days later, While I was out, a rescue boat arrived carrying Bradley's fiancée and a captain. Instead of leading them to safety, I took them toward the dangerous cliffside. When the fiancé stepped on unstable ground and started to fall, I hesitated, then picked up a large rock and struck the captain. They both fell to their deaths. Bradley later found his fiancée's hand with the engagement ring buried in the sand. He confronted me in a rage. We fought brutally in the jungle. I was partially scalped. He nearly gouged out my eye, and I bit a chunk of flesh from him. In the chaos, I swallowed the engagement ring. During the struggle, I stabbed him in the side. He escaped and ran into the hidden mansion in an area I had warned him never to approach. Inside the mansion, I confronted him with a shotgun. He tried to sweet-talk me, saying he loved me and we could stay together on the island. But when he lunged at me with a hidden weapon, I grabbed a golf club and beat him to death. A year later, I was rescued and returned to civilization. I took control of Preston Corporation and wrote a memoir about survival. My message is simple: no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. And sometimes, you realize you don't want to be saved at all. What do you think? Would you have stayed on that island if you finally felt powerful for the first time in your life? Or would you have done anything to get rescued? Tell me honestly in the comments, what would you have done in my place?